that's a test of how you care about your space.
It's so important to build that community.
Poor internet. How is this still a thing? Question mark, exclamation mark. For reals. Why is this still a thing?
It's a great idea overall. Execution, not so well.
Whatever you can do to help people get their workday done, it can really make or break your business.
Welcome to Where She Builds,
the podcast where two globetrotting solopreneurs share the real journey of building a life and business on the move.
I'm Shandy, an online personal trainer helping people feel strong anywhere in the world.
And I'm Anna, creator of Your Travel Friend Anna, a global community and go-to resource for those wanting to live a fulfilling and culturally curious life.
Thanks for being here.
Let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to Where She Builds. I am your travel friend, Anna, joined always by my podcast partner, Shandy. Hello, Shandy.
Hello, Anna. How's it going?
It's going very well, joining you again from Palermo as I have the last 2 or 3 episodes since we've started season 3. And you've been bouncing around, but where are you joining us from today?
Still in Antigua, so for the second week now. So kind of staying in the same spot.
Some consistency. It feels crazy, actually.
Yeah, until Saturday, and then we're gone again. But
okay, so we can look forward to something different in next week's Chitty Chat.
Yep.
You've been moving around. Yeah, it's been very interesting to have this dynamic where I've been stationary and Shandy's been traveling, but somehow we're still making the podcast work. So if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Hi. It's nice to have some new listeners here. And something that was really interesting is we are currently recording episode 30, but in the last little bit, we've released 2 episodes, episode 28 and 29. Episode 28 was late by our internal schedule and our production schedule. But something interesting happened on YouTube from our back end is that we were late releasing episode 28. Normally, we release episodes on Tuesday. We're pretty good. We're like 9.5 times out of 10, always releasing on Tuesdays. But episode 28 got released on a Friday. And our analytics on Spotify and anything was quite normal, what we were expecting. But somehow on YouTube, that episode just got a lot more views than we're used to. Question is why? We don't know.
That's the thing about the algorithm. We don't know. But it could be worth looking into. It could be worth maybe posting our video on YouTube on Fridays, but then still releasing our episodes on Spotify, Apple, everything like that on Tuesdays still.
Yes.
But playing around with YouTube, maybe that could be.
I agree.
The secret sauce. Who knows?
It might be the secret sauce. So if you are someone who normally listens on YouTube, we're going to release them on Fridays and we're going to see what happens. And maybe the next few episodes, we're going to see if there is something to be said about releasing an episode on Fridays at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that's 6 a.m. for our Calgary listeners. And that's about, can I do quick math right now? I don't know if I can. Like
it's 8 hours difference.
8 hours, 4 p.m. in Amsterdam, Rome, Berlin.
2 p.m.
No? 2 p.m.?
2
Wait.
p.m. If it's 6 a.m. MST.
8. Yep, 14.
2 p.m.
So 2 p.m. Thank you. Thank you.
Anna, I got it. This is the benefits of having a paper agenda is that you have to really quickly do the math about the time zones.
Yeah. Also, there's an app, everyone, called Zones that I use to differentiate when. So we're going to try that, but we are still going to release our normal episodes, our audio episodes on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And on Tuesdays, we're going to keep that going and just see. And we're just sharing this because we are solopreneurs and we're investing in this project and we're curious and we want to share behind the scenes of what's happening because I think it's so fascinating to hear behind someone's business of what's happening. Well, you're also participating in the business and seeing it thrive and grow.
Well, and how cool is it we're making the content, right? And if we play around with when we post it, and if it does better on a certain day to post it, it would be kind of silly not to post it on that specific day, right? So we just need to play around, and we had dedicated Tuesdays because it was kind of like in the middle of the week. It was easy for us to like get it done kind of thing. But Fridays is also great, and we can see maybe we get more listeners. So if there's somebody that listened to it on Friday that was posted and you're new here, hello.
Yeah. Who knows?
Welcome.
Who knows? So we will test that out. So yes, this episode 30 is going out on a Friday to start us off. Okay. But more exciting, if you did listen to last week's episode 29, Shandy shared in the Chitty Chat, which is always the first part of our episodes, that she did an overnight hike in Guatemala near an erupting volcano. So, Shani, give us the
Yes.
tea. What happened? How was it? Where were your anxiety levels? We want to know everything. Also, for me, of course, I want to know, where did you go to the bathroom? What was that dealio happening? Give us the fluffy, but then give us the tea.
Okay. So the night before we went on the hike, I did not sleep very well because I was so anxious. This is my first overnight hike I've ever done. I've
Okay.
done some hikes, but I always just wear my runners and I don't have any poles or anything like that. So with this hike, they suggested to have hiking boots and poles. So we went and rented hiking boots and we rented some poles right at the entrance of the hike itself. We hiked the volcano that's called Acatenango, and it's a dormant volcano, but right beside it is Volcan Fuego, which is the one that erupts every 10 to 15 minutes. So we hiked Acatenango, and I was surprised at how hard it was. I have
Mm.
never done something so hard in my life before. And that was by itself a crazy, crazy experience. The reason for me why it was so hard was because we rented the hiking boots. Within the first 15 minutes of the hike, I got blisters
15
on the
minutes. Oh, no.
first 15 minutes, and it was about a 5-hour hike. So
Oh, no, no, no.
yeah, we had a few breaks here and there. So then every time we had the break, I would take off my shoe, tried to put a Band-Aid on it. Band-Aid fell off, making it worse.
Putting the shoe back
Very,
on.
that was, yeah, I've never been in so much pain before. And I've broken my arm a couple times and I've torn hamstrings. I've never been in so much pain in my life as I have with walking on blistered feet. However, I do have to say that the people that we went with were so sweet. There was a Danish guy, he had blister patches. I'd never seen them before. They worked super, super well. So he had one big one and one small one left. He gave me them both for both my feet because both of them got blisters. The right one was super great. It helped a lot. The left one was a little bit smaller, so that actually maybe made it worse a little
Was
bit,
it on
but
your Wait, can you give us some context? Was it on your heels
it was on my
mostly?
heels.
Were
Yeah.
your shoes too tight, do you think? Too
They
small or
no,
just not used to it?
they fit fine. It was just because they were rented shoes, they were really worn down. So there was
Mm.
no padding in the back. And so I
Mm.
got blisters on my heels, which tore essentially all the skin off
Oh.
of my heels.
Excuse me.
Very painful. I also got a couple of blisters on my toes themselves, but it was fine. That was nothing near as painful. But we persevered, we went up, we hiked. That was the hardest hike I've ever done. Very, very steep. Then we got to the base camp and there was an option to go to Volcan Fuego to do the hike towards there. But we did some research. A lot of the places that we read online said that it wasn't worth it, that there was a couple of times where there has gone bad and that some people have gotten hit by lava, and that is something that we did not want to have happen to us. So we stayed back at base camp, which was totally fine, again, because of my feet, and we had a great view of the volcano erupting throughout the whole time anyways, which was super, super cool. So it was very cold up there. We were wearing toques, mittens, winter jackets we had to rent. It was cold up there. And then we were in a cabin. I'm going to
Mhm.
say quote unquote cabin because it was just very thin plywood and then a plexiglass thing. So it let
Okay.
all the cold in. So we're sleeping in a sleeping bag. And then I didn't sleep throughout the whole night because I was so, so cold and just, the adrenaline, you're sleeping next to a volcano erupting. But it was wild at 2:30. Well, it happened throughout the whole night, but there was one huge explosion that shook the whole cabin. And I sit straight up and I look outside and you see this lava
Oh
pouring
my
out
gosh,
of this
goosebumps.
volcano. You felt so insignificant in that moment that you're just sitting there at 3 in the morning. Everything is quiet and you see this volcano erupting, spitting lava out. And it's just the contrast between the dark, dark sky and this bright orange lava was just
Wow.
unreal. It made all of the blisters worth it, to be honest. Then we had the summit in the next morning. So we had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I went to go pull out. So we were given all of our equipment. We had to pack all of our equipment with us. We carried it all. It was about 15 kilos. Pat ended up taking a lot more of my stuff because I couldn't carry the weight anymore because of my feet.
Aw,
So
come
shout out to
on,
him.
Pat. What a gent. Aw.
Yeah, so shout out to him again. But so when I had packed my stuff, they had told us to put the headlamp wrapped into something so that it stays warm so that the battery doesn't die. Little did I know was that when I put it into my fleece blanket and I pushed it down into my backpack, the light
No.
turned on. So the whole day before, I was walking up and my headlamp was on the whole day and I had no idea. So then at night I pulled it out and I realized that it was on the whole time and the light was already super, super dim. It should be okay. It's fine. Wake up at 3:30 in the morning, try it, barely any light coming out. And the summit was quite dangerous. It was very thin path, straight down, loose pebbles. You needed to see,
Why are
yeah,
people doing this?
you needed to see where you were going. So I was freaking out. I'm terrified of heights. I get very anxious when it comes to these things. I didn't sleep. I had crazy blisters. I was freezing cold. Anxiety was through the roof. I got altitude sickness. So I had super bad headache, very nauseous. Just like everything that felt like could have gone wrong went wrong. My lamp wasn't working, but then there was this very, very sweet French couple that was 65 years old.
Damn.
They carried all of their stuff up the
Wow.
mountain with them. They were like, the man kept passing me back and forth. Like he was crazy. He was kept checking on his wife. She really struggled with altitude sickness. So she was like almost puking the whole time. It was terrible. But they, again, persevered. They went through 65 years old. If they can do it, I need to get over
Get your
myself and
butt
I
up
can
that
do
mountain.
it. So when we were hiking the summit, I couldn't see anything because of my headlamp. Pat was behind me, and this very sweet French gentleman was in front of me, and he would walk quick. He would turn around so he could point his light at me so I could see where I could go. And Pat was behind me so I could see where I was going as well. It was a huge team effort, the sweetest experience I've ever had. Humans being human and helping each other out. And again, a moment you're standing there watching this volcano erupt with these very, very sweet people that are just trying to get each other up to the summit of the mountain to see the sunrise. And it was just, yeah, honestly, when I was terrified. So I was crying a few times, but we got it up there. Like it was, again, the hardest thing I think that I've ever done. Blistered feet, everything that felt like could have gone wrong went wrong. But still to have those people help me and be so sweet and make sure that I was there safe and that I was okay. And it makes you feel like there's good in the world. You know, you get up to the top.
The problem solving too. Of course, you had Pat, so you have someone familiar to you, but he can only do so much and he can only problem solve so much. So just the team camaraderie of this experience, and that is what travel is so amazing, is that in that moment, suddenly you're all best friends and you're also all like homies is the word that comes in. I will help you get to the top. They don't even know you. You met like 12 hours ago, but there's something about we are going to do this together and we will find a solution. I just love the creative problem solving as well.
Yeah. So we got up to the summit and we watched this amazing sunrise over 3 volcanoes around Antigua. It was incredible. And then you just are standing there again, feeling so insignificant, watching the volcanoes erupt or the one volcano erupt, and you're just standing around. We did it. We made it. We made it to the top. And then on the way back down was insane. So fun because of how hard it was to get up the loose pebbles. You're like skiing on the way down. So you're stepping, every step you take, you probably move 3 meters because the loose pebbles just pull you down. So it took us an hour and a half to get up to the summit at 4 a.m. and it took us about 20 minutes to get down.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
But you didn't lose your footing? Like it was actually quite controlled and easy to come down, or sometimes you could like almost scramble and
there was a couple people that fell, but it was like a light fall. It wasn't like you're going to hurt yourself because you just kind of get taken. It felt like you were walking in a river. You were just getting taken with these pebbles with you. Yeah. And then we got back to base camp, took a couple seconds, had some breakfast, and then we did the hike down, which took about 3 hours coming down.
My gosh.
Yeah.
And then
we
took
got
a nap.
Well, and then I had to deal with my heels and I couldn't walk anymore. So Pat went to the pharmacy, grabbed me some stuff. We cleaned it up. Still very sore, but I am glad to say that they are healing and hopefully I can go surfing next week.
Do you have flip-flops with you or some kind of open back shoes?
I can't put
I think slides or flip-flops is a must-have because they are actually the most versatile shoe for cold floors. You need slippers. You want to go in a shower that's a public shower. You need something that's open back because you got the blisters on your heels. So I'm so glad that you have something to wear.
Yeah, I'm the nerd that's walking around with socks and sandals all the time now.
Well, Shandy, if you're the nerd, then what have I been doing for the last 5 years of my life when I wear about 10 minutes ago, I'm out and about in Palermo and I'm just wearing my Birkenstocks and socks like I have been for the last
You gotta do what you gotta do.
fashion, honey. It's not nerdy fashion. They're jealous.
There
Also,
you
if your
go.
feet are cold, but you want sandals
Yeah,
on, I mean, that's you.
it's easy.
The Birkenstock clogs are good for this because they kind of hide the socks. But
Mm,
yes, what's the
no,
What's the difference? Honestly, what's the difference? So
nothing.
anyway,
Fashion statement.
live your best life. That sounds like
Awesome.
an incredible experience, and thank you for sharing with us what
Yeah.
it was like. And oof.
I would
So
recommend it, like, honestly, through
yeah,
all the stuff that we went through, like I said, everything that felt like could go wrong went wrong, but it was still such an amazing experience. I would recommend it to anybody. Just the way that you're climbing up and then you see this this volcano erupt is just there's no words to describe it. It was
you
such
have to
a
do it. Yeah.
like, I don't wanna sound like I'm bragging in this way, but Pat and I have seen and done a lot of things, but that was
Uh-huh.
one of the things. This is for sure top 3. Like, I
You got a dopamine hit. It
yeah,
was
like, you just
yeah.
you feel, I don't know, that fuzzy, tingly feeling that it's like, "Wow, this is gonna be a core memory for the rest of our lives."
Amazing. What kind of tip would you have though if you could do it again and someone knew what to tell you in terms of not necessarily this hike but also renting hiking gear? Could you
Don't
do you,
bring your
oh,
own red hiking boots.
okay, well, bring your own hiking boots. If you
Yes.
can't bring your own hiking boots, just make sure you have some that Danish guy seemed to know what was up. He had
He Yeah, because he did even a harder hike 2 days before that.
oh my
So he
gosh.
was
Also
like, boom, boom, boom. He was ready.
but bring some band-aids, a mini
Blister
first aid
patches.
kit, the blister patches,
Yes.
cushion.
Yeah, because you wanna have a good balance between being prepared, but not taking too much stuff with you because you have to carry all your stuff, and that's
Right.
really heavy. When you're,
Yeah.
like, going at such a steep incline for 5 hours, you're happy if you have 1 kilo less of things. So you also have to carry your own water. They provided a Camelback of 3 liters of water.
Okay.
However, we also took some electrolytes, some Gatorade we brought with us, and then another liter of water. So we ended up having around 5 liters of
Each?
liquids. Yeah, each.
Was
Because
that
it's also
enough?
it was enough. We had a little bit left over, but then we also had the experience. There was a girl that was on the hike with us, and she only brought 4 liters, and she ran out of water. I mean, there were some places on the hike that you could grab Gatorades or something, but she was very much, we of course told her we have lots of stuff left over. So if you need anything, you let us know. You can have our water. Like, we don't need it all.
Yeah.
But she was more comfortable, of course, finding her own source of water or whatever. And so she
Yeah.
was able to find some Gatorade and stuff. But I think 5 liters is a good amount of stuff for this specific hike, unless you drink more water or you don't, whatever. It's totally up to you what you experience. But yeah, just finding that line of being prepared but not having too much stuff. But for sure, a
Mhm.
first aid pack of alcohol wipes, like big blister packets, like those patches, those are really, really good. Even if you aren't the one experiencing blisters, there's somebody that also, I'm pointing at myself, that also is not very prepared. And that was so grateful for somebody that was prepared for it. And it was
Yeah.
just, that made the difference between me being able to finish the hike and me stopping. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Shout out to the Danish dude
Yeah.
and the
Very
French
sweet.
couple and Pat, of course. And also just show up for your partner, pay attention to your partner, what their needs are and help
Yeah.
when you can. And of course, you have to be a bit selfish in these moments to make sure you can get up the mountain and continue going. But if you can
Hmm.
lend a hand, don't be selfish and just see where
No.
you guys can be a team together and get to the
Yeah.
top.
But I do think that it's a good test also for the way that you can push yourself mentally. I also,
Yeah.
it's quite funny because I had a conversation with a client this morning too, that your mental state is the thing that's going to tell you if you can do it or not. And sometimes that inner voice is not truthful. There's lots of times if you're doing something hard, the very natural thing to do is step back and say, I don't want to do it anymore. But that voice telling you that you can't do it anymore is not truthful. You are able to push yourself so much farther than you think you can. And if you can get over that hump, if you can get over that voice and say, you know what, you're not telling the truth right now. I can get through this and I can push myself. That for me was the biggest roadblock because I kept telling myself, I can do this. I'm in pain, but there's people that have experienced a lot worse and have gone through a lot more than what I'm experiencing right now. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm doing this for fun. And so for me, that's the biggest thing. If you can push yourself mentally, your body will follow. And that's just the thing that we need to practice is being more mentally strong. And that really is the biggest difference between success and being unsuccessful. So I think entrepreneurial, but also physically, in a personal training's perspective, your mental capacity is your biggest thing that you need to get over.
Snaps for that. I echo everything you say, and it makes me want to try and find something in the next little while that can push myself mentally, not only in work, but yes, just this kind of life experience, place and time. So I love that. I love that. All right. I'm going to have to cut our chitty chat off there, but maybe we can do
Sorry.
a whole episode about this. Never say sorry. It's beautiful. But we have an amazing episode coming up too that we both are really excited to share. We are talking co-working spaces, what is good in a space, what can be improved on, nice to haves, must haves, and how you can really choose a good co-working space. And also if you're someone who owns one, operates one, or wants to open one, I think this episode will be very helpful for you. Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Lots of really good tidbits. So let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. In today's episode, we're talking about co-working spaces, the good, the bad, the co-working spaces that look great on Instagram, but have been impossible for us to actually get some work done.
Between the two of us, we've worked from co-working spaces all over the world. And with each experience, we learn a little bit more about what we like and what we don't like. So today we're breaking down what co-working spaces really need to work, the must-haves, the nice-to-haves, and the things that aren't super necessary at all.
Definitely. And if you've never worked in a co-working space before, we've got some tips for you that you might want to listen up to for a smooth work session. And if you're also an owner or operator of a co-working or also a co-living space with a place to work, listen up because we've got some easy improvements to enhance your space.
Mm-hmm. And this episode was inspired by one of my most recent experiences here in Guatemala in a co-working space and Anna's role currently helping to enhance a co-working space inside a co-living in Palermo in Italy. So let's get into it, Anna.
Awesome. We have a great episode ahead. I'm so excited to talk about this. And as we just introduced, we have experience in this and feel like it's a really important space. We've also talk to some of our community and our network to see what they're really liking because we're just two people in this co-working world. All right, to kick us off, when did you first use a co-working space, Shandy?
Mm-hmm. So it's been a couple years already. So when we were first in the van, we were working from the van, but then it was becoming a little bit too cramped. So we decided to look into some options that we could go, whether working from some cafes and things like that. And then we found out what a co-working space was. So then we checked one out. And after that first experience, we were sold. We kept doing it for years and years now. So what about you? When was your first co-working?
That's a great question. I do remember going to one in Nice, France for half a day just because I could not get the Wi-Fi to work in my Airbnb. However, I find that I am more into community-based co-working spaces or ones attached to co-living. So I think we differentiate a little bit on that. And sometimes where I stay is enough, but of course in van life or a hostel situation, you might be seeking this external space. And yes, it can be newbies and it can be the most experienced digital nomads that you find inside of these spaces. Of course, locals as well, which we'll get into. So
Definitely.
How many co-working spaces have you been to, Shandy?
I mean, over the years, especially with the van and traveling in Asia and Central America and also in Europe, we've probably been to over 30, honestly. What about you?
I wrote a list here. So we've got Bulgaria, Hungary, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Canada, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Italy, France, Romania, Poland, Turkey. It's all in Europe. Played on halftime speed to see if I pronounced anything. So I've been to, what is that, about a dozen, 10 to 12. Again, sometimes it's inside co-working spaces. Mostly Europe. I have been to some in Canada. And so I think that gives us enough expertise to be experts in this space. And again, we are a bit of a different type of coworker as well. So let's talk about what kind of structure do co-working spaces get? Why should someone actually go to a co-working space?
Yeah. So for us, it was all about kind of separating the work-life balance. Because again, in the van, that was when we started with the co-working spaces. And it was a nice place to just be able to, okay, we're living in the van. Let's separate our work life. So when we go to this co-working place, we work. As soon as we're done, close the laptop, go back to the van. We can't work anymore. That was kind of for us the best thing.
Yeah, I love that separation of structure and space and that kind of habit of attaching an atmosphere to an experience. I also think they help to give a productivity boost. I like to call it this passive parenting as well. You're not going to go and pay for a co-working space to watch Netflix. Have you never heard this?
No.
What? This is
passive
exactly
parenting.
Okay, let me explain it.
Okay.
Shani's going to giggle the whole time. So my theory on co-working spaces is you're often paying for the space. Again, could be inside a co-living that you're also paying for, but you're not going to pay to go to this space to watch Netflix or just to people watch. You are paying so that you can be productive. And also there is other people around who are also being productive around you, and they are passive parents. They do not give a hoot about what you're doing. You don't give a hoot about what they're doing, but someone's eyes are over your shoulder. You're like, I better get working, or at least look like I'm working to give the aesthetic. So I got passive parenting, and it just is this passive accountability buddy.
I love that though, because I've totally had that experience too. Like I have that a little bit with Patrick already that I'm like, if
Yes.
he looks at my laptop, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong.
That's
But it
exactly
totally
it.
is. Yeah, it totally. I love that. I love that. And
Okay,
I
I
also
didn't mean to
noticed,
interrupt you. I thought I had
no,
already told you. So when you were laughing so hard, I was like, what's so funny? I swear
no.
I've said this to you before.
Well, maybe, but I just think it's hilarious. Passive
Yeah.
parenting.
Passive
It
parenting.
works. It works. But I also noticed, I mean, even as a couple traveling, going to different co-workings, it's really great for networking too. So it's
Yes.
really, it doesn't feel forced because you know how sometimes you go to these events where you're like trying to network and it feels very businessy. It feels too yucky almost. These are
Hmm.
great because you just go into a co-working space, especially if they have some sort of event lined up for people, then it's such a great way to organically meet somebody. And then you get to, like you find out, oh, what do you do for work? Oh, I do something similar. Like Pat, oh, I'm in data analysis. And then somebody else says, oh, I'm also into this. And you've got this bond that you wouldn't have had before I mean, it's a very different connection that you have in a hostel versus a co working space as well. Right.
Completely agree. And to back onto that idea, if you are a traveler or a solopreneur or someone who's working remotely and maybe the rest of your company doesn't work remotely, it gives you this fake satisfaction of again people around you or just this idea of camaraderie that we're all working hard together and again a chance to meet folks depending again where you are. So some are a little bit more focused on a local individual and just this place that someone can come and work their quote unquote 9 to 5. Some are really focused on community and this international scene and catering towards remote workers and digital nomads. So it depends where you are, but nonetheless, I have definitely made friends. And it's so nice to walk in and say good morning to someone before you open your laptop instead of just waking up and sitting in bed still and opening up your laptop. It gives this
Mhm.
false feeling of attachment somewhere.
Well, and I think maybe also during/after COVID, we kind of miss that connection with people, right? Especially
Mhm.
as nomads, now that we're traveling, a lot of our life is very isolated, right? Like it's very much you meet somebody passing by, but you don't talk to them ever again. Whereas, or for example, with us in this situation, we went on a walking tour, met some super cool people, never going to see them again. But at the co working space, we keep continuously seeing these people over and over again. So you build that relationship, even if it's for a short amount of time, you're still able to kind of dig a little bit deeper, figure out what this person's about. And kind of bouncing onto what I talked about earlier, it does also build a nicer business connection as well, right? Not just a personal, but business. Like maybe you find somebody that can help you in your business, vice versa, those kinds of things. So it's just really great for overall connecting with people.
A great example is the pop-up co-living I hosted October 2025. One of my
Yeah.
co-livers came because there was a gentleman in Turkey at the co-working space who I can say I got along with. We did not become best friends. We did not do a lot of activities together, but we had a good rapport. He was in Montreal at the same co-living space as her, and that's how she ended up. So this roundabout way of connections and people just being in the right place at the right time. You just never know. As Shandy always says, planting seeds and just genuinely making connections, whether it's friendship, business, opportunities. Just plant some seeds. You never know how they'll grow.
Works in every part of life, planting
It
seeds.
really does. It
It
really does.
does,
You could
right?
write a whole book on it, Shandy. I think you should in the future.
Okay, so Anna, what do you think has been the best co-working space apart from yours, your co-living?
Oh.
What's the best co-working spaces that you visited, and why is it the best?
Well, as someone who is a micro and sees every operation in very detailed ways, the one that comes to mind the strongest and always first is Kaptar. I'm probably mispronouncing it too in Budapest, Hungary. It is on the Pest side. It is close to, I forget where. It's in a very central area. I forget which quadrant. I think it's quadrant 5 it's in. Regardless, they were at the conference that we were at originally, and that's how I pinned them. And then when I finally went to Budapest, I also made sure that I was living near them what made it stand out is, first of all, the customer service. So the woman who helped us sign up, we were able to find a plan for 2 weeks. They had call booths, they had coffee, their Wi-Fi was amazing. They have external monitors, they had multiple rooms to work from. There was a downstairs and upstairs. There was no outdoor space, but plenty of windows to open. Location was prime. They had activities, not a ton, which I actually prefer because then I don't get distracted. But they had a barbecue that all the locals and the expats that were there. So it was a nice mix of local and external people. I can just say it kind of had everything. And then on top of it, they just were so great at being customer service. I love the idea of something being automated and passive as well, but there is such a nice connection point when you get to meet someone from Hungary. And the woman took me on the bus to the barbecue. You know, like that's a core memory for me, getting to talk with her on the bus on the way to this activity.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite.
I love that.
Shandy?
I mean, so I'm going to be fully transparent. There hasn't been one particular one that I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I wouldn't change anything about it. But one of the best co-working spaces that I've experienced that I was like, oh, that's very unique it was called Monday, and it's located in Madrid.
Wait, I
And
just
they
love
had,
that name to start
yeah,
with. I don't know
yeah,
why. So cute.
it was super fun. And they even gave us like little tote bags to when we first came in. And it was like, my Monday is better than yours. We still use it. We use it for a laundry bag. But
You
it's
still,
very cute. We still
but you've
use
got
it.
their brand with you in Guatemala right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's just a very cool idea. So they had a very open space concept, which was great. And they had little booths that you could sit in. They had little call rooms. Well, more like call booth, I guess I should say. But the best part that I was like, this is so unique, was that they had an on-site personal trainer that came in every day at noon. And you could just, for free, go in, do a quick workout. They had showers. You could shower, go back to your workday. And I thought that was such a cool way to bring fitness into the workspace, because nobody has to go to an exterior place to work out. They don't have to come back. That takes 2 hours out of your day. This was like a half hour, 45 minute to an hour, whatever workout. You're done. Go back to work. It was amazing. They also had a super great canteen where they had a lot of options to choose from. You could also bring your own food, store it in the fridge. Lots of different options, which I super, super loved. The downside of that was that they didn't have ergonomic chairs or stand-up desks, which we all know I'm very picky about.
She's going to be on it today, folks. It's in the outline a few times.
No, like, I mean, as being a personal trainer, as being somebody that's very cognizant of your body and how you should treat it, and especially being a nomad, traveling all the time, sitting in your bed, which I am for sure someone that does this a lot of the times. If we don't have a co-working space, if you're sitting in your bed like this all day, it's not good. It's not going to be good for anything, right? For aging wise, for that specific day, you're going to have back pain, you're going to have wrist pain, you're going to have all these different pains. So just when you have a space that you have the ability to set up in a way that's ergonomic and in a way that's going to support your body, why wouldn't you do that? Invest in it a little bit, and then it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I can talk about it forever.
I know. We'll get into it a little bit more. So I think that that's a really interesting idea. It's a very unique idea. Also, the ability to shower there is definitely means that it was quite large, I'm guessing, quite a big
Yes.
facility. So
Yeah.
I think that's something too we can discuss. As a larger facility, more square footage, square meters, is it better, or something that's more intimate is better? Another great one that is on the list, Shandy, is the Koepel, which you have worked from many times. I have also had the privilege of working from with you in Haarlem. Why do you love the Koepel so much?
The space is very unique. So it's something that it's always a conversation starter when you're talking with somebody that you're having a call with. I think that's super fun. They have really great coffee. They have ergonomic chairs and stand-up desks.
You've been spoiled with them, can I say?
I've been so spoiled. I've been so spoiled. They also have monthly meetups. So they have like little breakfast things that they do each. I think it's either monthly or biweekly, even every Tuesday, I believe. Like every time. And then they also have like just little ideas of like, let's say somebody has a business, they can either pitch the business or pitch ideas or skills to different people, which is super cool. So you can decide to come there or not, learn a little bit about, for example, Power BI or something like that, or you can learn about different things and up your skill level, communicate with people in that industry and just kind of expand that way, which I think is super cool for long term for being there. Is that necessary for somebody that's there for a week or two? Probably not. But for a long-term co-working, it's great.
I would consider that more of a local co-working. I don't
Mhm.
know because I was joining you and your partner, it was very easy for me to work there. So I don't know if that I really like the Couple. I'm a fan, but I can say just to give realistic picture, I'm not sure if it's as great for a visiting guest who's only coming for one day. It's a very multifunctional space. It's incredible. It used to be an old jail cell. So it's for sure a startup, but there's so many events happening in the
Mhm.
space and it's a bit confusing if you were visiting for the first time as a
For
nomad
sure.
and the location isn't next to the city center. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
there's
mean,
some
if
things to think about if you're just like a remote worker visiting
no, for
1 week,
sure.
right?
For sure, and like I said, that's where things come in if you're only visiting for a week versus if you're visiting for long term. There are
Yeah.
pros and cons for both, for any situation, right? So that's why I think with co-working spaces, if you're listening and you're considering starting one or if you have one, you have to really think about what you want that co-working space to be. Do you want it to be for short-term people that are only coming in for a day or a week or a couple weeks? Are you looking for more long-term? Which I think you've also had that experience, Anna, in Canada because Canada
Yes.
is more like a long-term co-working spaces, right? They're not really
Yeah.
built for or the ones that I've heard you talk about, they're not really built for just stopping in for a day or a week or something. It's really like you need monthly or yearly subscriptions.
Yeah, I can say the one that I've been to in Calgary quite a few times, amazing space. I can really say they have standing desks, they have awesome chairs, they have couches, they have coffee, they have a fridge, they have a space for it's safe, it's big, there's multiple floors, good lighting. My list will go on. However, I joined because my sister-in-law did. So, it's I don't even know if you could join for a day or a week. So it's kind of this membership style co-working space. I also believe that if you are a visiting guest, always email them, talk to them and say, "Hey, if even if you don't have this pricing, can I help you? Can I be your first guest like this? Like I think you are missing an opportunity. So can we negotiate something that maybe you'll get a future visitor who wants the same kind of pricing in the future?" So again, something like the
Absolutely.
Couple, the one in Canada, it doesn't hurt to ask and say, "I'm visiting for a week. What can be done here? I'd like to pay and support."
Absolutely, absolutely, and then have some sort of contact, let's say if you have a website or something, have your phone number or have your WhatsApp or something readily available so some people can reach you very quickly, right? Because if you're
Yes.
sitting and you're like like we've done this lots of times, if we're in a city, we just come here, there's 5 different co-working spaces, and then there's only email, so you reach out by via email 5 times. The quickest one that responds is usually the one that we reply to, then we're like, "Okay, let's go check it out," and then we go and see, "Is this right for
Yep.
us, yes or no?" If you want to make yourself available, you also need to put yourself out there. And for people like Nomads, I don't know how you usually find your co-working spaces, Anna, but for us, it's always just on Google Maps and we search in
Mhm.
co-working spaces. So if it doesn't show up, there's also been many times where we've Googled that and we've just by happenstance walked past somewhere and we're like, oh, this says co-working space. So we stopped in and it was amazing, but it wasn't
Mhm.
on Google Maps. So for the regular Nomad, they're not going to find it.
I would say Google Maps, make sure that you are identified as a business that's a co-working. Even if you're a multifunctional space, if that's your primary source of income, make sure that it is co-working. Instagram as well is important. Just having it in your name, it makes it searchable and the location you're in. And then also for sure, street access and street visibility is important because if you're staying somewhere for a month, you might just like, let me check my Airbnb out, let me check my co-living out. And then if it's not exactly as you want, you're going to seek this co-working out and you've probably already played tourist for a couple days. So
Absolutely.
definitely that is something we need to do. And also on that note, you just made me think a pro is if someone does have WhatsApp and also variability in payment options is really
Yes.
important. So not if your location and country can take it, card, bank transfers, Wise, Revolut, cash, all those variabilities will also appeal to a larger audience
Hmm.
and a receipt if we can get receipts for our businesses because a
Yes.
lot of
Business
entrepreneurs want to write
expense.
it off as a business expense. I'm kind of going on tangent here. We were on pros of the co-working spaces, but I have to get those
No,
ideas out because we didn't write these. I'm thinking about them as we're talking. You brought
which
up
is
really good
great.
ideas.
Yeah. It's great though because there's as we mentioned earlier, there's not just one thing that makes something a space super great, right? It's all these things that add together and they could be pros, they could be cons depending on your situation as well, right? Which
Yeah.
we'll kind of go into now we're going into the cons. What are some things that drive you crazy in a co-working space, Hannah?
I actually think that you have more like icks or things to pick at. For me in general, cleanliness is really, really important. Cleanliness mixed with kind of customer service in a sense. it's nice to know there's a person, whether you have a full-time receptionist or someone that's there in the mornings or available by phone. Having a connection point is really important. So, hey, there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. Like, I gotta go and I've got a meeting in 5 minutes and there's no soap or something like this. And just in general, like wiping down tables, it sounds so easy, but people eat at their desks, our fingerprints are really greasy, people spill coffee, etc. So someone who does a light wipe of the space and I'm like the Canadian Marie Kondo, as I said too. You just want to come into a space and make sure you can make it your own, whether it be for an hour, a day, or 2 months, or 2 years, right? Otherwise, I'm going to match you and I'm going to say it so you don't have to repeat yourself. I do agree with rectangle tables, making sure there's ergonomic chairs. I like a standing desk, but it's not make or break. I really do think you've been spoiled with the cupola.
Well, honestly, we have one here too in Guatemala, and I think it's
Wow.
great. It's
Okay.
honestly, I mean, again, I've heard lots of people who have experienced, let's say, in the regular workplace, 9 to 5 workplace, they have
Hmm.
stand up desks that they've never used in the years that they've worked in the place.
Hmm.
However, I think if you get used to it and if you realize how good it is for you to stand up at least every hour, look into the research. It's insane how much of a
Hmm.
difference it makes for your body, for your posture, for your circulation, for everything. Like, again, I'm coming from the personal trainer aspect where it's motion is lotion, right? If you can move up, stand, if you can move your body throughout the day more, that's going to solve 99% of your problems, right? So that's where I'm coming from. I am very spoiled when it comes to stand up desks, but I also think it's very, very important for our health in order to, if you're going to build a co working space, invest in a little bit more. Like if you've got an IKEA in the country where you are, they're 50 to 100 bucks, 100 euros that you can spend on a stand-up desk that then lasts forever. And people are so much happier in general in your space because they can utilize it.
And you can also do this like slow rotation. So if you had a pre-existing space, just slowly replace them as you earn your income. Maybe
Yes.
you're a startup of a co-working space, but it's definitely worth it. It's a premium as well. So it's something that you can feature and you can offer, and that separates you maybe from the neighboring co-working space. I do like a really good chair. I notice the chairs really make a big difference for me. So when I am sitting, um, and a con is I love how you wrote this down for our notes. Poor internet. How is this still a thing? Question mark, exclamation mark. But for reals,
It's
why is this
true.
still a thing? Ugh.
Like no one's going to a co-working space with a pen and paper only as their only thing.
Only
Aside from
when Shani's doing her calendar. I'm just messing with you.
No, but honestly, like nobody's going there to write pen and paper, write stuff down. We're going there to work on the internet. That's how we are digital nomads. We can work from anywhere in the world. So we need a good, stable internet connection to have calls, to have, you need good download speed, good upload speed. You need all of these things. And if you don't have that, come on, get
Also,
into
a
the
con is
times.
either you need to have a backup network. So I know some co-working spaces, the one in Turkey, they had two networks. So if one went down, he had a second one from a second provider. So we actually paid
Oh,
for two different providers because I don't know the full rules, but in Turkey, they're completely different. They're not running on the same line. So if one failed, he had a backup that was slower, but it still worked.
yeah.
And then also just making sure that you're proactive about it. Again, it's that kind of customer service thing. We're understanding things break. But if you're just like, guys, it might be 2 days, that's not good enough. Honestly, it's not good enough because if you're going to host a co-working space, people have jobs, it's their income, it's their livelihood.
So Wi-Fi, I think, hands down, even more so than stand-up desks and ergonomic chairs, is the most important thing. Wi-Fi, right? In general, it makes the most sense to have that. Also, call booths, I think, are
Yes.
super important to have. If you don't have them, you need to have some sort of area where somebody can take calls because there's some people that talk really loud and there's some people that need to have privacy in the jobs that they're doing. There's some people that need to have that separation. And if you don't,
Confidentiality.
exactly. So if you don't have that, call booths are like the minimum. If you have call rooms, that's even better. With my experience, again, as a personal trainer, I need a call room. Majority of the time, let's say 99% of the time, there's no call room. So I have to go back to a room in order to do the calls, which is totally fine by me. However, sometimes they have like their call rooms or meeting rooms, let's say. Those are also nice because then you can go in and have brainstorm if you're with other people, if you're working around, whatever, that's great. But yeah, I think that's super important too, call booths.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of calls in my business. So again, this is where we're two different types of workers. Shandy's a unique case where she has physicality in her meetings instead of just a conversation. But the confidentiality bit I get, Sometimes also as an English speaker, of course, if people work in other languages, not everyone else in the room understands you, but as an English speaker, especially in Europe, everyone can understand me. And there's a little bit of like, I can't talk about that right now. Like everyone can understand me. And you never know how loud you're speaking with these noise canceling headphones. So it is nice just to know I can go and have a meeting, I can do my thing, and I can exit the room. And on that note, it is a con if it is a nasty booking system. What I mean by that is if it's like a book, a physical book that I have to be at the co-working space in order to reserve the time for the room. If you can have some kind of Google sheet even, it doesn't need to be a fancy software. It can just be a Google sheet that is how you reserve it and some kind of limitation. Like someone cannot be in there for all day. There needs to
Absolutely.
be some boundaries for sure.
Hey friends, hope you're enjoying this episode so far. We just wanted to offer you a space to be a guest on our podcast. We're looking for travelers, entrepreneurs, freelancers, culturally curious people to share their story, their business, and their mind on a future episode. Email us at whereshebuilds@gmail.com about what you would like to talk about, and we will get back to you. Okay, now we'll get back to the episode. That just brought up another idea in my head with I would say it's a con, which we're experiencing currently right now, is that time lines, let's say, are different for people. So people that are traveling in Europe are working maybe in North American times. So having a 24/7 access is fantastic. So for
Yes.
us, for example, right now, the co-working says that it opens at 8 a.m., but we're kind of on Central America time, South American time.
Island time, baby.
Island time, the people or the worker, the person that's supposed to be opening up the co-working space for us isn't here until 8:30, a little bit after 8:30. So if we have calls that start right at 8 a.m., the Wi-Fi in the actual public area is not good. We can't set it up because it's public. It's not a great setup. So having a 24/7 access, having some sort of like there's lots of times where you can get like a key code from your phone that you can just tap and open up the space so it's still secure, which is great because then you know all of your stuff is very safe. But then you can access it whenever you need, not having to wait for somebody to open up with a lock and key kind of thing. So I think that's hands down because there's so many people working in all different corners of the world. It's important to have that 24/7 access for somebody to work even in the night if they have to.
I can emphasize the one in Budapest was so good because we were working until 11 p.m. and instantly there was trust. They taught us how to lock up. They gave us an alarm code. We were only there for 2 weeks. And so they gave us an alarm code. I was with a friend at the time. And so we're leaving at 11 p.m. We're locking up this business, which I have to say was a bit stressful. But it was very nice to know that we don't have to go back. Our Airbnb had no Wi-Fi at the time. So we were relying heavily on that co-working space to make sure that we could get our work done. We also want to give some advice back from our community. So we asked the Your Travel Friend community, which is my WhatsApp community of global travel friends and digital nomads, what are their co-working space needs, which was so fun to get some answers back from our
Yeah,
audience. Phone booths for private calls, fast, reliable internet. This is a bare minimum, not a bonus. Agreed. Water
absolutely.
coolers and coffee machines. And you wrote...
To have coffee chats. How great is that? Again, building connections. Because if you have a water cooler, like that's kind of the thing it's in the 9 to 5 regular thing is like people hang out by the water cooler to chat. But it's so important to build that community, right? So if you have somewhere where somebody can go and grab a coffee and you just say, hey, how's it going? It makes such a big difference between that versus if you're all sitting at your desk not conversing with each other, right? Like it just makes that welcoming feeling a lot more. And coffee is great to have. I love that.
Yes. Coffee, tea, and on the note of water cooler, it is a bit of a slang term now, but if your water is not drinkable, can you find a resource to make drinkable water? That also will make sure that we can actually work throughout our day, stay hydrated. Even if I have to buy something, buy a water bottle, can you have that available so that I don't have to stop my work day, go and find a shop, come back, an hour is gone of the day. So I
Yeah,
love this
that's
idea of coffee chats and
yeah.
water cooler chats.
That's what they have here as well as that they have a water purifier so that you can just
Amazing.
go fill up your water, done, is exactly what you said. So you don't have to go break up your workday, go somewhere, come back, because that also takes away from your productivity, right?
100%. And on that note too, where the coffee is or the water is, making sure it's kind of either a tucked away corner or somewhere that's a little bit separated from where the deep work session is so that we can have these conversations without thinking we're too loud. If it's an
Yes.
outdoor indoor space, maybe it's a little bit outside. And on that note too, we want somewhere we can put some food. Maybe we have we went out for lunch, we have some leftover food that we don't have time to take home to wherever we're staying, or we packed a lunch from last night's dinner, or we cooked some food. The
Mhm.
ability to put something in the fridge is really nice. I can say in Turkey, we had a fridge that accessed I liked milk in my coffee every day, even in the afternoons, and the Italian would make fun of me every day. He called my coffee swamp water. I didn't care. But I could bring a whole jug of coffee and I just wrote my name on it and it was so nice. I didn't have to like, "Oh, I forgot my milk again."
Yeah. But to piggyback on there too, to have a space, let's say a kitchen area with a fridge, with a microwave at least, but then also making sure that it stays clean. Because there's
Yes.
lots of like we've had an experience when we were in Bulgaria that we went to a place that had a separate kitchen and they had a stove and everything, but it was so disgusting. I didn't want to put my food in there because also in the fridge there was moldy food. It was
I
horrible
can't.
and it
I
was
can't. What is with
exactly.
people not cleaning up fridges? Like that is the first thing I do when I come into co-living spaces when I'm working as a community manager or helping with operations. That's a test of how you care about your space. Would you
Yes,
have that in your normal house? No. Why is it in the common space? I'm going to go
exactly.
crazy.
No, and I think it's such a bare minimum, but I think it's so quickly overlooked because it's like, "Oh, the co-working space is great, everybody's having a good time. Oh, they still use the kitchen." I'm like, "Yeah, only some people use the kitchen that have a high tolerance." I very quickly
Yes.
get the ick. So if I see a spoon that even has, like, a little something on there, I'm like, "I don't want no, no, thank you." So I'm very much like I wouldn't say I'm a germaphobe, but I just like to have things clean, and if I go into a space where there's already mold somewhere, don't call me.
I
I hate
think what
that.
it is too is if you're a paying customer, think of an
Yes.
Airbnb. You don't want to see the last guests germs. You want
No.
to enter the space, pretend like no one else has been in there and it's your space. So if you're entering a kitchen or a desk or something, you want to feel like you can make it your own again, no matter the duration. So I think it's a little bit about staff. It's about investing in some labor, whether it be a front desk receptionist that's always tidying up. I can say
Yes.
also an example in Turkey every day. Actually, wait, I have well, it's a nice to have. Maybe we're jumping to the next session, but I can just shout out the one in Turkey. It's in Antalya, by the way, if anyone's listening and wants to know where it is. A really, really cool thing they did was we had community lunches every day. And how it worked was there was two restaurants that you would enter the WhatsApp group. Every day around 11, they would post the menu for the day. You would just put like, I'm ordering a number 6 and a number 5. They would deliver it every day at 1 o'clock, I think it was. And you just paid for your individual meal. We all ate lunch together outside. It's Turkey. It's beautiful weather. And then you didn't have to worry about work, like lunch every day, a moment to have community chats, a moment to network. It was so nice and quite a unique offering, but really that connection point. And it helped two local businesses too. So I really love that component of it as well.
Yeah. I think that's great as an addition thing. Like, of course, we talked about kind of the basics, the basic
Hmm.
package of a co-working, what you need to have. That's for sure a nice to have. And that would be
Yes.
amazing if all of them have that. But for sure, like you could do without, but now I'm jealous. I want to go to this place because that sounds amazing.
I jumped ahead because it is a nice to have. Where that made me think is after every day we had lunch, everyone was quite responsible and cleaned up after themselves. But on top of that, one of the staff members came around and just did like a full tidy and wipe down. And
Amazing.
so it was always consistent. And that's the bare minimum that we just need some consistency, resetting, putting things in their homes where they belong, and those kinds of things. So I jumped ahead. What are some of these nice to haves, as we put in quotes, things that are going to make me stay longer in a place? What are some of the
Yeah.
things you like?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we've touched base on this a few times already, but having either even like we wrote down here monthly or biweekly after works, but even if you're there for a shorter amount of time, let's say like weekly after work meetings, something like that. So that was something that when we were in Bulgaria, they did a really great job of. And I think also in the location where you're at right now, Anna, is that they have every I think in Bulgaria it was every Thursday we had a dinner together that you just like it was kind of like a potluck. You bring one thing, you bring a salad or
Hmm.
whatever, and then you all just enjoy outside having a nice meal together. Also, every Friday or Saturday, you could go to the hot springs together as well. So you
Ooh
just kind
la
of rented
la.
a car, drive to the hot springs. So that's also nice, like a good way to, again, communicate or to build a relationship with people outside of the workplace, which I think is super important. And really, for me, that was like, okay, I feel like I'm part of a community, which I think for nomads is a huge, huge thing that we really feel like we lose when we're traveling so much.
I agree. And I can count the one that I'm at. We do a potluck every Thursday. It's been running for 3 or 4 years. It's a huge connection point with the local Sicilian culture and people. And this mix of expats that are living here full time, the co livers. It's this beautiful camaraderie moment, sharing of food and wine and drinks. And I can say that a co living is a little different than a co working space. But even the one in Canada that didn't appeal to an international audience, every Friday, 4 p.m. Also, this co-working, wait, this is a nice to have. This co-working in Canada had beer on tap, like draft
Oh,
beer all the time from a local brewery and root beer on
amazing.
tap. Oh,
Whoa,
that root beer
amazing.
from Annex Brewing in Calgary is delicious. So Friday at 4 p.m., still within those kind of work hours. Maybe it wasn't like, yes, this external adventure tourist thing, but what it was a moment that, hey, everyone kind of gathers in the kitchen space. And it was like this loose way to know that, hey, I can disturb you. Like now is a networking opportunity. Hey, I've kind of seen you around. What are you working on? I'm really curious. Like those kind of connection points are so, so important. And they help introverts a lot, as well as we've written down here that they can be a connection point of the extroverts can lead the space and the introverts can finally talk to you one
Which sounds
on
like
one.
hallelujah to me.
Come on, Shandy. I know you are a bit more extroverted. Like I've seen it.
Yeah, when I wanna be, but it's in the
Yeah.
way like, that sounds amazing to me. If somebody sets something up and you set up the situation for people to be more extroverted, that's fantastic. Like, that makes it so much more comfortable than having I mean, again, in my personal experience, if somebody's sitting beside me, I'm so nervous to talk to them because then I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna interrupt what you're doing, and I just wanna talk." But if somebody sets up, like, big potluck, then I'll be like, "Oh, I saw that you were working on this. How's it going? What do you do?" Blah, 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 blah.
It
It starts a
opens, it's
conversation.
like green light, time to chat.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Then you know that the people are open to conversation because they're there, which just makes it so much better, such a much better experience overall.
agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
Some other
amazing.
nice things that are there are plants, decorations, pillows. Spend some money in interior design, people. Like that kind of feeling also just makes you feel like you can walk in and make the space your own. Making
Yes.
sure, again, there's mouse pads. How would you want to work in your home if you had unlimited budget? Just putting some kind of feeling towards it.
Mhm.
And Shani wants standing desks, no circular tables, only rectangle.
Get
She's
rid of
going to
them, please.
emphasize it. What episode? We did an episode on things. I don't know what it was, but I think our
I think it was
YouTube
in the first
thumbnail
season. Yeah,
in the
first
first season
season.
was like episode 9-ish. We talked about some things that
Oh,
make,
with Airbnbs or something like that,
yeah,
with probably yeah.
traveling and Airbnbs. We should have done our research before, but
Yep.
go back to season 1 and listen. Some also, yeah, some nice extras, natural light. I love that you put that because that's game changer for me.
Huge. Even if you have an you don't have to necessarily be working outside, but it's nice to have a place to be outside where it's comfortable, sit there for a few minutes, get some vitamin D, sip on some coffee, go back kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
but to counteract that, this specific co-working space that we're at right now is ideally it sounds great in your mind. Overall, not the best setup. So they only have spaces, let's say like ergonomic spaces, so good chairs, good stand-up desks outside. It is covered with like a somewhat roof, but then this part, let's say like in front of you is open. So
Okay.
if there's any wind, if there's rain, if
Is
there's
there
sunlight,
sand?
there's no sand, but it's not very comfortable to work from because you're constantly squinting at your screen because the sunlight's so bright. And there's a smokehouse right beside, so then everything starts to smell like smoke. And there is an option to go inside, but then it's just sitting at like a regular cafe table, so it's not very comfortable. There's other people like you're mingling with people from because it's also a restaurant.
Oh,
Um,
s
so
lot
it
going
it's a lot
on.
going on. Yeah, a lot going on, and it's also a brewery, so it's a great idea overall, execution not so well.
It sounds like you can get drunk, you can also get full, and you can work well, you get a suntan. Is that
Yeah,
right?
like, again, so overall, it sounds like a great idea. However, yeah, in
I don't
actuality, it's sometimes a bit mwah.
I've never been to the place you're looking, but I also don't want, I think, I don't want to pick on this particular co-working. Some places think that they can be a co-working and 8 other businesses. And I just want to emphasize that if you want to actually fulfill the needs that we're describing in this episode, you can't be everything. You have to think about these details, and it needs to be a priority in order to be a successful co-working focused space. Again, if that's
Yes.
not your primary income, not what you're looking for, that's fine. But you can't be a restaurant, brewery, a good like there's a lot going on. Like, I'm getting anxiety. It's too many operations in
I mean,
one. So,
again, like you can make it work, but you need to focus on things first, right? Like you need to be the best in the co-working space before you become a restaurant and co-working, or you need to
or
be the best
staff it
restaurants.
properly. Like,
That's the thing. And yeah, like it's again, thought was there, execution not super great. By no means, but like I would still recommend this place to people because it's, I mean, it is one of the only places in Antigua, but it is also, it's very welcoming. There's not many people working there. It feels comfortable.
there's a community atmosphere, local
Yeah.
atmosphere. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just those small things that kind of think like, oh, I wouldn't want to be here long term. It's good for a week or
Okay.
two, but I'm kind of over it after that amount of time.
Okay. I also think if you're in a, it's nice to have those outdoor spaces again, but your laptops can get hot. So there needs to
Yes.
be some flexibility. And if there is an outdoor space, please make sure there's this non smoking section, especially if you're in a country that smokes a lot.
Hmm.
I.e., the Balkans, they were always outside on the balcony smoking. So I never worked out there.
Yeah. Yeah, which is too bad. It
I
really
know.
kind of ruins the atmosphere for everybody else. So,
Yeah,
also another
definitely.
thing that we never really talked about, which I think is super, it's a nice to have, is to have a locker that you can store your stuff as if you're going back and forth. Because right now we're carrying our stuff back and forth all the time. And I'm like, oh, I really wish I could just keep my laptop there. So I also don't have the temptation to work on it here.
Would you actually leave your laptop there?
Yeah. Yeah, we did
I
that
wouldn't.
in, I can't remember. I think that in Madrid we did that. And I was like, oh, great, leave it there. Don't need to, because we had to walk at 45 minutes to
Okay.
our van. So it was great to not have to carry all the heavy stuff.
I would even just leave my laptop stand and keyboard, which again, part of the ergonomic setup that you can help yourself. It'd be nice to leave like my mouse, laptop stand, keyboard, even just a notebook, water bottle, little things. If you know you're coming back, I do that here in the secondary space. I leave my laptop stand. That is why currently my laptop is on 2 soy milk jugs. Every time we record, I'm like, dang it, I forgot my laptop stand.
You
You
keep saying that we need to get me a ring light. We need to get you a good good
I
stand.
have one, but I left it in the co-working space because that's where I need it for my ergonomic setup, Shandy. I
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Okay, we are almost done this episode. One of the last things that is needing to be considered is location. So Shandy had an experience in Ljubljana, which is one of the reasons I never went there, Shandy, actually.
Yeah, like it was an amazing co-working space. It was very like good community, nice place to work. They had free ice cream, which is amazing. It was super great.
That's a
Yeah,
unique quality. And what's it
very,
called? Do you remember what it's called there?
oh,
After
no.
30, she forgets the name of them. Okay, I
No,
think
it
it's one
was,
of the only in Ljubljana, though.
yeah, and it was more kind of in the industrial area. It was
Mhm.
also a very unique thing, which I think is very important to suggest as well. We kind of going back to being on Google Maps is to update your pictures because when
Yeah.
we looked on there, it was still in construction. So the pictures that
Oh,
were uploaded were showing that it was like still being built. But then we reached out to them and they're like, oh no, we're functioning. You can come visit. And it was beautiful. It was a very
mm,
beautiful setup, everything. So we're like, you need to update your stuff, dude, because this is what we're looking at. And if we're seeing that it's not like we are probably the unique people that are reaching out to you asking, most people might just swipe past and go.
mhm.
But yeah, so that was something. Update your pictures on Google Maps. That's very important
And your
if you
hours
want
of
to be viewed.
operation as
Hours
well?
of operation, yeah, exactly. Having that key to be able to go in and out when you need, very important. But location, if you can, of course, like there's times where you can't be centrally located because it's super expensive or things like that. But then offer maybe transportation or like give some ways of how people can get there because we were lucky enough that we were in the van, so we just slept in the parking lot at that point, but it was quite far away from the city center. If you wanted to go for lunch, you're just like a quick half hour, pop out, go to a restaurant, come back. You had to take 45 minutes to get I can't remember how long it took, but it
No, it
felt
was
like a long time.
far. That's why I never went to it, because you said, "You should
Yeah.
go, there's ice cream there." I looked at the location, and Ljubljana has an amazing bike rental program in the city. Now, I'm not going all the way out there because by the
Yeah.
time I get there, I'm gonna be tired and wanna come home and take a nap, not work.
Yeah, yeah, which is too bad because it was a really great like, they had a great setup for community, you felt very welcome, they had a lot of outside things, we went to the Barbie movie together with the girls, like, it was just a super fun
Do you think it's set up
place.
more for locals in that moment, though?
It could have been, and again, this was years ago, so maybe they also updated transportation, maybe they improved it that way, but from that experience, yeah, it was a bit too bad because there's so much potential in that. It was a great space, one of our favorites that we visited, also with the people and everything like that. It's just the location really made it eh,
Ah. Yeah.
yeah,
And I think if you are appealing to a nomadic or international audience and you're in a city that you can offer bikes, scooters, if people feel comfortable, car rides home, "Hey, can I help you get on the train or the bus?" That's gonna make that also community sense of welcome, and people just wanna feel like they belong and just that sense of, "Oh, thanks for letting me get home last night. Hope you have a good work day." Those small moments of camaraderie are really, really beautiful while traveling.
and memorable, right? That's something
Yeah.
that's gonna stick with you. It's that feeling that you get from a co-working space, not necessarily the things that part of the co-working space, but the feelings that you take away from experiencing that, that's gonna keep you remembering it in the future. Like, that's why these co-working spaces that I mentioned in this one, I had that great feeling of being part of a community or I really enjoyed it there, and that's why I remember it. We've been to 30 plus co-working spaces, so the ones that I can't remember were just average, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can speak of one highly in Bosnia and Herzegovina because the old office manager, community manager, she's not there anymore. But we both really enjoyed her, and she just made us both feel really welcome and like, I'm here if you need anything. And it was just so nice to walk in and get to say hi to her in the morning.
Yeah,
So I wish she was
she was
still there.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
I've
to bigger and
yeah,
better things.
absolutely. Yeah, but amazing. She was such a I loved her. I
Yeah,
love her still.
memorable. Yeah, for sure. We should go
Yeah,
visit her. Actually, we should do
we
that.
should. Yeah.
Side note. Anyway, we just want to say thanks everyone for sharing your feedback. For those in the YTF community, there's a digital nomad group, so you can join it if you want to. And you can also drop your favorite co-working spaces in the comments below, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Drop them in the comments. Maybe they are destinations that Shandy and I should check out, or someone else reading the comments. Also, if you own a space, drop it in the comments. Let us know. We
Let
want
us
to come
know.
check them out. We want to Maybe it's one we want, and also if you offer ice cream, we will probably be there.
Ice cream and free coffee, great. I'm in.
Coffee. Yeah, and we like a cappuccino, just
Yeah.
hinting.
Cough, cough.
Okay, so now we're into princess needs, but anyway,
Yeah.
we're gonna end it there. All right. Awesome episode, Shandy. And we just wanted to say send this episode to a friend, whether they're a digital nomad or someone who is aspiring to work remotely. We are the Where She Builds podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch on YouTube. Send this episode to a friend. The next episode will be out next Tuesday. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in a bit.
Yes, thanks for listening.
Ciao for now.
Bye.